If you're comfortable with FaceTime calls and all the other things that you know you do on FaceTime that you probably would not want the entire world knowing, just know that nudes, whatever else you got in that iCloud.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of House of Ways and Means. This is Ways, I'm Means. Today we want to talk a little bit about a video that was put out by the giant YouTuber PewDiePie. It was related to an online therapy site or platform called BetterHelp.com. Now, I know it's maybe a couple months old now, the video that he originally did, but of course it's right in Wade's wheelhouse, being that she is a mental health therapist. So just to start off, what did you think about the video itself and how it was presented?
I think that the video seemed to be very thorough in the information that he provided, as far as kind of going into I guess the fine print, so to speak, and highlighting the information that was provided there so that people can see the information and review it. So I always appreciate people presenting facts or receipts when talking about something, especially if it's going to be in a derogatory type manner. One of the other things that I did like was him going through the website and showing the various comments that were there, or the reviews rather, the testimonials, I think they were called. And the one video that he pointed to, I didn't go to the website to fact check it for myself, but I saw from the information that he provided in his channel and in his video, and the video, a testimonial video that was provided. And he is right in the way that video was provided. It does look like he was reading something off the script versus him actually speaking from his heart and providing a true testimonial to his experience with BetterHelp. What about you? What did you think about the video?
I mean, I thought that it was definitely biased in some way. I mean, it seems like he had obviously heard some negative things and he was going off of it in that way, and he was kind of trying to expose the fact that people were maybe promoting it and without actually knowing anything about it. So he was talking about definitely people with having a large YouTube following promoting something that they maybe don't even know the quality of, or their experience may be just completely bought and paid for. What has been your experience, if any, with BetterHelp.com?
Well, I looked into BetterHelp to see about becoming a provider with them. One of the things that I like to do as I look to becoming a provider, I look to see what it looks like from a client perspective. So I signed up. I didn't pay anything, but I just wanted to see what that would look like, what that process would look like, what a client would have to go through. Immediately after completing the questionnaire, I was linked to a therapist. That therapist contacted me to find out if I was interested in beginning, what I was going through, to find out what I was going through and how she could help. Can't remember her name. She seemed to be very responsive. I did not look into her background to see if she had like a license in Ohio or in Maryland or any of the states where I resided in, which is one of the things that you need to look into. If you are seeing a therapist, that person is providing you that support, they need to be licensed in the state where you reside, or the state where you have your residence. So I looked at that. It seemed like it was okay. I didn't double check anything. I really just wanted to look into it to see how it would look from a client perspective, so that if I did become a provider, I would know what to tell my clients as they're starting the process. But outside of that, I don't really have that much information about it. So I don't really know if the information is factual as far as what he's provided. Now, what I do know is that, and if you've seen any of the other videos where I speak about a therapist and it being a good fit, what can happen in any site, whether it's the BetterHelp platform or an individual therapist online platform, or even a face-to-face therapeutic session, that therapist may not be a good fit. And so the session would not work for you. You may not feel like you're getting any type of help with those sessions. And so it is pertinent to make sure that you have a good fit. That's just across the board. So I don't know if those people that told him about their experiences, if it was an issue of fit or if it was an issue of BetterHelp not doing a good job of screening the providers that are providing these sessions, and if these providers are even actual providers and that they're credentialed and licensed.
All right, so I'm not sure that we mentioned it today, but we've definitely mentioned it in the past, but Ways Here does provide online mental health therapy. So obviously something that you believe in as a provider and as a clinician. So what would you say to a person who, because in the video itself, PewDiePie did mention that he thought that providing or taking online therapy or accepting online therapy was a bad idea in general, just because of potential data breaches and just, you know, the dark web. You hear about all these things about the internet. You don't want your private information, especially related to your mental health, getting out there into the world. I mean, what would you say to somebody who perhaps has that fear?
The reality is that in any therapeutic setting, whether it's online or in person, the majority, if not maybe 90% of all clinicians, they use a database, an online database. So any database, you know, if you want to look at it from that perspective, could be hacked and the information can be acquired. However, the particular platforms that we have to be on in order to provide therapy, they have to be HIPAA compliant and you have to have a business agreement. It's called a BAA. In order for that site to even be considered appropriate for providing therapeutic sessions. The reason for that is to ensure that the sessions are encrypted and that the information cannot be recorded in the session. So the actual video session cannot be recorded, and even the data that's kept on the website or whatever online database that you may use, it's encrypted and it cannot be downloaded. Now, of course, there are always going to be data breaches with things if people are not being mindful about, you know, locking their laptops or sharing their passwords, things like that can happen across the board in any clinical setting, in any medical setting, in any financial setting, really, and even in your personal life. Just think about all the people that have had their identities stolen because of data breaches and things like that from behaviors that you've done within your own home. So the reality is that when you are looking into a clinician, especially one that's an online therapy, you want to make sure that they are using an online platform that is HIPAA regulated, it's encrypted, and it has a BAA agreement. So if they're using a site like Skype Business, that's not going to be good because Skype Business does not have a BAA and it can't verify that it's going to be encrypted. So sites like iCouch, which is one of the things that I use, DoxyMe, those are pretty good online sites that people can use as a platform for providing video counseling. No Skype, people, no Skype by itself or no Skype Business. Those aren't HIPAA regulated sites. I know a lot of people use it all the time. Now I would say though, that if you decide to use one of those websites, it's okay if you decide to use it, but the therapist and you should both know that they cannot verify that your information may not be breached in that call. And so for instance, if I have a client and we are trying to connect on iCouch.com or DoxyMe, and they tell me that they're having difficulties with the connection or whatever it is, and they decide to FaceTime me, what I would say to them is, just as a reminder, I cannot verify and I cannot say that this call would not be breached or it would not be picked up. And then they can decide whether they want to move forward with that call or not, knowing that information. Because a FaceTime is also not secure, people. So just so you are aware of the things that exist. And if you're comfortable with FaceTime calls and all the other things that you know you do on FaceTime that you probably would not want the entire world knowing, just know that nudes, whatever else you got on that iCloud, just know that all those things are things that could be breached because, you know, there's not encrypted. Now, the other thing to note is that there are some mental health issues that are not appropriate for online therapy. If someone is paranoid, they're delusional, and they're experiencing some type of hallucination, I would not recommend online therapy for a clinician or for a client or patient that has an acute mental health illness. I feel like the clinician would have to weed out the clients and the patients that would be best served through an online setting.
All right, so one last question. What would you say are some questions for somebody who perhaps is looking or seeking out online therapy and maybe has some sort of fear just based on what they may have heard, or perhaps they have heard similar things to what PewDiePie presented? What would you say some questions they should ask a clinician and not be afraid to ask when vetting them?
Well, one of the things that you should ask is if they are licensed, and in what state. You can ask about their credentialing. Credentialing typically refers to whether they are a member of any particular association, like American Counseling Association or APA or any of those things, as well as credentialing with like an insurance company. So you would want to ask those questions to see if it fits your needs, your financial needs, as well as making sure that the therapist is adequate and sufficiently educated to provide you with the service that they're claiming that they can provide to you. Another thing that you can ask is what telehealth platform they are using. Even if you're seeing a therapist in the office, you would also want to ask, what database system are you using? Is it something that can be breached? Is it something that's HIPAA compliant? Is it something that's encrypted? That is still important, whether it's a face-to-face session or if it's an online session. Another thing that you would want to ask is about billing information. Sometimes the website does billing, or sometimes you can do billing through the individual therapist, like maybe Cash App if you want to do that. However, I would also just research these things and don't necessarily take the clinician's word for it. You can ask the clinician for their provider ID. If a clinician is really credentialed, they would have an NPI. It's a National Provider Identification Number. All providers would have this number, regardless of whatever state. You can look up that person's number, Google it. It's information that's available to everyone, and you can find a person's name, you can find where they are credentialed, you can find where they are licensed, and you can verify this information. So I won't necessarily just take someone's word for it, especially if, for example, with BetterHelp, in this case, they're indicating that the client or the patient should check to make sure that their clinician is actually credentialed. So that's one of the ways that you can also verify that information. And those are the important questions I would say to ask.
All right, so guys, the purpose of this video is, we know PewDiePie has a huge platform, lots of followers, lots of people who respect and listen to him. And, I feel like he's genuinely just trying to inform, but, I don't know about his professional background, but I don't think he's in mental health therapy. I mean, maybe he is, I don't think so. But, a bad experience with BetterHelp.com, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So, there's options out there. If you did have a bad experience, or if you're considering it, we just hope this gives you a little bit of perspective. So, that's it for us. Let us know what you think about this lighting. I know we're both pretty fair-skinned for black people, but I'm feeling like extra red bone today. Goodness, like all kind of beige. Anyway, we'll see y'all later.
Bye, y'all.